for our meeting on October the 3rd, 7th. If everyone would please stand for the invocation and the pledge. Mr. Samuel, if you'll lead us.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We pray that as we conduct city business that we will be doing so wisely, and we pray your blessings on our decisions. We pray that you would be with our mayor and our police and fire and those that other employees that work on behalf of the city. Pray especially for Amir, who's in the hospital. We pray that you would be with him and help his healing. We pray for the children and families of this community that are struggling, and pray that you would bless them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilperson White.
Present.
Councilperson Zastabny.
Here.
Councilperson Yon. Present. Councilperson Maples.
Here.
Councilperson Gill. Here. Council President Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Hawkins.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Councilperson Rodriguez. Let the record reflect all 9 council members are present.
Thank you. Minutes to be approved. We have minutes from the workshop of September 19th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Anything further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Minutes from the regular session.
I'll make a motion to pass the corrected minutes that Mrs. Conwell will have for your signature.
Second.
The motion and the second to approve. Anything further? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Is there anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Claims to be approved. Shoot this guy's vote. You know where it was.
Have a couple of amendments to the claims. First one's on page 9. It's to remove the claim for $550 to Bonkers the Clown.
Good.
Thank you. We're on page 9.
Yeah, which,
Middle of the top chunk.
yeah, which I did talk with, and he's also here, the Parks Authority president, that it needs to go before the Parks Authority and requires his signature. So that's been taken care of.
And then on page 11, about middle of the page, there's a claim, it's a TIF claim, actually got inadvertently put on these claims for Bank of New York for $750. That was an error on our part to put that on there just because of a date issue. So when you're ready for a new number,
Yep, fire away.
1,177,853.05. Unless there's any other changes.
I believe, Mr. Rodriguez, did you have any, he did come in and help me go through claims,
Yeah, I'm
which I
trying to
think-
find it. Well, yeah, but it's in my car, so I will,
He went through some of the claim. I know one that question you had was the Sam's.
yeah, it was the Sam's cards.
The memberships?
Yes. So
Yes,
there
I
was
checked
two-
on that.
There was 2 memberships that were bought. One was for like a first-class membership, and the other one was for a second type of membership. So my question is, this is for Scott and Les, is wouldn't we just need one membership for the city?
We're looking whether or not we need one.
Right. So,
We're, that card.
okay.
This isn't the credit card, the Sam's credit card. This is just.
This is a membership.
This is just the membership.
This is a membership.
But the
Yeah,
one,
that would have
but
the
there were 2
pictures.
different ones, and we don't know what the business one was, and then I don't know, if one could have been, I don't know.
paying double.
I checked with Paul, and he said it doesn't have anything to do with the Sam's credit card part of it. It just has
So
to do
who's
with the
got the
membership.
membership? Is it the city's membership, or
There's
is it,
4 people on that.
and who's, do you know who that
It's
is?
just the Parks Department has, I think it's
So
Nikki
my
and
question would
Paul
be is,
and...
I have a Sam's Club membership, which some people in this room probably do, but my wife doesn't have a separate membership.
Right, it's all inclusive. I
Right.
can check on it. Do you want me to hold the claim until you get
I'd like for you to
verification?
hold that
or-
one until
Sure.
we get clarification.
I think
Okay.
I see one of them on the top of page 8 for $135.
Yeah, $135.
Yeah, because the question we had was, why do you need
There
a
it is.
business and a regular?
I
Yeah,
don't know the
because
answer
you
to
should be able
that.
to just get a nonprofit membership to Sam's, which is a business membership, and, that would be used for everybody at the city level. It wouldn't require two different kind of memberships, or that's the way the receipt reads, if I remember correctly. That's the only question I have.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the claims minus the $550, which is the bunkers, and the $750, which is the redevelopment.
And then we'll get clarification on the 135.
And contingent upon the clarification then on that.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Anything further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Report of the clerk.
None at this time.
All righty. Unfinished business. Is Mr. Ways with us tonight, or are we tabling that again? Mr. Ripley, do you?
Motion to table.
Mr. Ways, is that Chris Nolan?
He doesn't contact me. Do
we have a
Motion and a
second?
second to table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Vicki Conlon, ordinance transferring funds.
Anything changed, Ms. Conlon?
No.
Then I make a motion for the third and final reading, pass the 2016 OR 59.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Anything further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Anything changed, Heather, on yours? Oh,
This is a public hearing on 2016 OR 60, which is an ordinance of additional appropriation. At
Yeah,
this-
nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. At this time, we will open the floor for a public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for or against the ordinance? This is the additional appropriation for some funds that all were receipted in, correct?
Yes, receipted for sale of things from Gov Deals and appropriating cash for the unsafe building fund. And then the last one is for carpet on the second and third floor.
Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass in the third and final reading 2016 OR 60.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Anything further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. New business. Ms. Gill?
Yes, I sponsored an update on the Homeless Coalition update. I believe that the new administrator, Don Clem, will be presenting. Good evening. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. You guys met me, I guess, back in July when I first came on board, and I'm back to kind of give you a quick quarterly report on what has been going on with the coalition. I'm sure most of you all have read the paper over the past week, and we were very fortunate actually to get 2 articles in the papers. It's pretty exciting. Currently, we are working on what's called the single point of entry for both communities in Clark and in Floyd, and that will entail us hiring what we're going to be calling a service coordinator. They will actually be a case manager, but we won't be doing case management on site. What we will be doing is assessing people, gathering data, and then referring people out to the social service agencies in the area. We hope to have that up and running after the first of the year. As I'm finding, being the administrator for a brand new organization, things don't always go as you plan. And so we're really hoping to have those 2 points of entry up after the first of the year in both communities. The other thing that I'm currently working on kind of behind the scenes that you don't see a whole lot about is I've been working with IHCDA up in Indianapolis to bring more money back into the community. And by working with them, they have kind of expanded my area of knowledge as to what's available for homeless funds. We were able to get write a grant it's through Purdue, and it's for veterans, and basically they're going to help us with our marketing. And so we're looking for other funding opportunities along the way to cover the cost of running the coalition, and also bring money down here for our partners who are currently providing services to the homeless. And I guess the most important thing I can tell you about is our white flag, which was actually in the paper last Wednesday. We have an active committee going. I have invited many stakeholders from the community to come to the table to initially brainstorm about what that's going to look like for Jeffersonville and New Albany. It's going to be very different from Louisville in the fact that we do not have enough shelters here to actually do the same model that they do in Louisville. And so what we're looking to do is find 2 organizations or churches, one in each community, to provide that space for us. We do have someone who has come to the table in New Albany, and I'm hoping Jeff will have somebody by next week. Those will be staffed with trained volunteer teams of 6 to 8 people who will be regularly, say for instance, if you are on a Monday, your team is a Monday team. If we call White Flag on Monday, your team would be the one to respond. And they will be trained by Life Springs, who is providing all of the training to us for free, which is really nice. So yeah, as a partner, they've really come forward to help us out. And so I hope when I come back in 3 months, I'll have an even better report for you that this is up and going and that we're being able to serve people when the weather dips below 35 degrees.
Good deal.
Excellent.
Where's your office is at? Did you find?
Currently, I have one at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in New Albany, and we're working on a space over here. I'm not sure if that's going to come through or not. I have my fingers crossed, but if we do, it will be open after the first of the year. Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you
for all
very
you're
much.
doing. It's exciting.
Thanks for the update.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Kim Clarabro, ordinance amending 2016 OR 18, which amends and amends and amends salary ordinance for this year.
Hello. Hi. Okay. For the 2016 ordinance to amend this year's ordinance, if you refer to page 2, under the city clerk, we are requesting that we add a traffic bureau clerk at a pay grade 2. So the clerk's office can go ahead and hire their staff and get them trained and get them going and be ready to pretty much roll for the first of the year and actually start probably before the end of the year. Then on pay grade 4, we are requesting the green space manager at a pay grade 5.
Did you go to page 4? What page are you on?
I'm on page
I don't
4.
want you to forget about drainage on page, because they are taking them up a pay grade.
That's on the 2017 ordinance.
Oh, okay.
This one, yeah.
Sorry.
This is the changes for
It's hard
this
to
year.
keep
So
your
we
salary ordinances straight.
Yeah, tell me about it.
My apologies.
Yes, it is. These are the 2 requests for 2016 that would give us permission to go ahead and add, I guess, additional appropriations to fund these 2 positions, advertise for these 2, and get them on board, hopefully within the next probably 3 weeks, ideally.
Motion to approve 2016 OR 63 on the first and second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Anything further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. What was the number on
Yeah, was that
one?
61?
63.
63?
Ms. Calabro?
Okay, for the proposed 2017 ordinance, which my understanding is has to be at the state along with the budget on November 1st. And what you have before you are reflective of the changes that I've been given from the finance director, from Heather, and from the city attorney through budget request meetings. So,
So I think the page where it says new business OR 60, I think there was an extra page stapled on top. I don't know if other council members are having trouble finding it.
Yeah, there was a cover page.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to.
So the only change, obviously, on page 1 would be like in the second, like in that first paragraph that talks about basically ordinance fixing the salaries for the year 2017. In that very first paragraph in the header. And then on page 2, under the city clerk, it's going to go from chief to first deputy, and their pay grade change from 3 to 4. The administrative assistant is going to be a second deputy at pay grade 2. And then I went ahead and kept the traffic bureau clerk, presuming that tonight that's going to be approved. So that would be reflective of the 2017 ordinance that we submit. Under drainage, we're getting rid of the title like general labor. We're calling them construction laborers. And this is discussed. I know Lisa was pretty involved in this. I think Matt a little bit over the course of the last year. Typically, the drainage laborers have been general laborers. However, through the course of probably some additional things that they've been doing and some of the skills, that was one of those groups we had a really hard time finding general laborers that were willing to work for the $11.25 an hour. So through about a year-long discussion with the Drainage Board and with Andy and with staff and with Liz, we're increasing the minimum requirement for them. They're going to have a CDL Class B, and because of the fact that some of the skills that they have to use in terms of, kind of goes beyond just a general laborer with having to use the scales and having to do calculations on grades and things like that. Liz felt that it was justified to have them be changed to a pay grade 2. If you go to page 3, fire department, we have a new base rate, base pay for fire department. And we have taken out the numbers. I know that I believe I've been told by the police chief that he actually, I believe, had this conversation with the collective bargaining team in terms of removing the numbers behind fire chief, battalion chief, captain, and those kinds of things, just to kind of, because this is like a very fluid document. We would pretty much be changing this every month if we really went in and changed those numbers. So I don't know what your take is on that. I know there's been some conversation. I went ahead and removed them so that we don't have to actually go in every month and change. Like we just had like a probationary firefighter go to first class, or first class go to second class. We would be making those changes pretty much all the time if we stuck with those numbers behind, like, you know, Lieutenant 10 or Sergeant 5, Firefighter 20, those kinds of things. So we have removed those. Under motor vehicle,
Let me stop. What prevents folks from just being moved up if there's no...
I would say 1,
limit?
the budget, 2, the merit commission, and 3, the collective bargaining agreement.
Well, there's plenty of money at the beginning of the year in the budget, so they could be changed at the beginning of the year. Then at the end of the year, oh, we ran out of money. That's one. Maybe the merit commission, are they the ones that are they the ones that make the change?
They make the promotions.
Okay. And if they would choose to do it, they could do it, and there's no limit. I'm just...
And
I'm
currently the
just
way,
saying,
yes,
but
no, I understand.
I'm kind of
understand.
educating the council, I guess. There used to be set numbers in here, and once you hit those numbers, then people couldn't be promoted, and that kind of locked in your costs, and that was negotiated.
I had the question too, if we don't have the numbers in there, they can't hire, like we approved 6. There's no way they can go in here and hire 7 or 8.
No.
That's what was my question. I was
Right.
like, that controlled the number they can hire, who can fill what spot.
Okay.
Do you want to say something, Nate? Did you?
Those numbers have never been followed. They fluctuate so much. We can keep the numbers in there, but we can go back quite often. Council, I look at ordinances in several cities throughout the state, Albany, Elkhart, Greenwood, and so forth. Nobody has an ordinance where they list the number of members of the police and fire, fire chief. It doesn't really matter what, you have a collective bargaining agreement, and you have a budget funds positions, collective bargaining agreement.
We looked at Bloomington's, looked at several, looked at Bloomington's. I know Vicki gave me a couple. And then now some municipalities actually have a separate ordinance for fire and police. And I know
Legal question, I guess. If somebody gets promoted from a sergeant to a lieutenant or whatever, can they be demoted? I don't think so. I think that's the issue. And I'm not saying I'm not necessarily pushing against this. I'm just saying education, that's why we had it in before, is we would, the chief wouldn't just promote 2 people if it said 8.
Let's assume you're no longer the police chief. Let's assume tomorrow the mayor calls you and says, Nathan, you're gone as police chief.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, you, by state law, get your rank back that you get before.
Sure.
Okay? Well, if that rank is not available, you still get that rank and you still get that pay.
Right.
So to your point, could skew that.
Yeah, so I mean, we've had problems in the past, we've actually had litigation.
Sure.
So,
And the other thing is too, before they can move up in rank, each merit commission, they have to take a test. And then from that test, then after the scores, then they take it back and they meet as the commission on whether to change the rank.
And we do get payroll notices to reflect those changes. So, and that's part of our internal control system that we have, and that's been recommended by the State Board of Accounts, and we tweak that on probably a quarterly basis. So we do get those notices.
I don't recall the reason we went to that. It may have been before I was here. I don't know.
I went back to when I started, when I inherited maintaining that, and I went through meeting minutes and tried to find stuff, and I really couldn't find anything that was clear. So, yeah, it was very confusing.
Mr. Merkley said it, there are a number of people who get to rank. When you become a chief, it opens up a rank position, so someone gets promoted, and then you switch chiefs again, he goes back to that rank. You switch chiefs again, you go back to the rank. Next thing you know, you have 3 more lieutenants or captains than you really need as far as the overall
Structure.
Yeah, but you still had to pay them.
Right.
I thought you had to pay them, but they didn't hold that rank.
Yes.
they still have ranks.
Right.
So let's give an instance if the chief is no longer the chief and he gets put back to being paid as a lieutenant, and then in 3 years he retires as a lieutenant. Is there a measure to make sure that his position as a lieutenant isn't filled because it's not necessary, and there wouldn't have
If
been
he
that?
doesn't hold that rank,
That's
he's
what
just
we were
being
trying to
paid
do.
that.
In the contract negotiations by putting numbers there.
So is that in the contract? Okay.
We have not discussed this with, and I mean, you can see, we have not discussed this with either of them in collective bargaining. We've discussed it it was brought to us, I think, in a finance committee meeting with Christine, brought to our attention that it had to be updated, and so to tell you we got Jason Jackson here with the FOP, but I just wanted to clarify when you said about collect, we have not discussed that with either one.
Right now, your collective bargaining agreements list how many they're going to have per rank.
Okay.
But it's possible to, instead of having the numbers, to just include verbiage that illustrates the scenario that Matt was discussing. Or is really including numbers the only way to?
I guess is whether or not you have good faith trust in your party.
And I think that we have a good instance now where the police chief has taken the rank structure and is really trying to make it more of a pyramid, structure, but it's not always been that way, and it may not always be that way depending on who the chief is. We have a good chief today. That doesn't mean we'll have a good chief in 10 years, 5 years. I don't know.
2 years.
Well, this is my proposal, so.
Well, if it's,
Don't know what to tell you.
if it's in the collective bargaining, the contract,
As of right now,
then I got, yeah, sure. If it remains in there, then that's a check and balance, correct? I mean, sure. And if it's removed, then it's removed. Okay, I just raise a question.
What else we got?
Keep going.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, at the bottom of page 3, under the motor vehicle, under streets, again, in line with trying to get away from the general labor title, we're just going to call those folks roadway and directional signage worker. Nothing's changed, no pay grade change, nothing else, just getting rid of the general labor. Under Parks and Recreation, one of the new positions that's being proposed is the City Partners and Sponsorship Manager at a pay grade 5. Again, I continued to keep the Green Space Manager in there, presuming that it's going to be approved tonight. The lead coordinator position has been a long-term existing position we've had for years. That individual is no longer here. Paul and I decided probably about a year ago 2 years ago, looking at the pay grades, that if and when the opportunity came that position was vacant, we would not fill that. So it's just being removed, just because it makes sense to do so. The Public Arts Administrator is a new position proposed for 2017 at a pay grade 5. Police Department, same scenario as with the Fire Department. And again, the base pay is changed. Under Sanitation, the Administrative Assistant 1 actually was erroneously reported as a pay grade 3. That should be a pay grade 2. She is currently paid at a pay grade 2. Not real sure what we did last time, making that a 3, but it is a 2. General labor, we no longer have general labor 1s, we just have general laborers, and we have 12, pay grade 1, no change in pay, no change in anything other than we're just going to call them general labor. No changes on pay grade 6 in wastewater, no changes. Say yay raw. We're excited. That's a good thing. Come on. Woo! Look at me here. Okay. Back on page 10, section 2M, that is a piece that the auditors made us put in. Lisa helped me out probably a year and a half, 2 years ago when the city council had made some decisions on giving like a bonus, and we didn't have that reflected anywhere. It was,
So we call it an incentive.
yeah, so long story short, about a year after the fact, the state auditors made us put that into the ordinance, or in the salary ordinance, and then we think it's probably prudent to go ahead and remove that at this point. So, any questions? Anything I need to look at readdressing or making revisions to for the next meeting?
Since it's been put in there that way, can the next meeting, can we just get a new page 10 and have that totally removed? That struck out. Would that be okay with y'all? Because it'll make it cleaner.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just totally remove that.
Just make a new page 10 and...
Yeah.
And just completely strike that out.
Yeah, because we've got it, if you recall, in everyone up to this one.
Okay.
I mean, all the 2015.
You've got it right.
Yeah. No, it's no big deal. I just thought it would make it clean starting out in 17.
Yeah. I can never get those OR things down.
It's okay.
This is 64.
Yes.
This will be 64?
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Clabro, I have a question for you. The pay range for 2017, are all the ranges the same as 2016?
They are the same for now. I do have a proposal that I would like to, Matt and I spoke, we had a meeting. I don't know if now's the appropriate time, but since you brought it up, I'd like to just mention. What I'd like to do is have a workshop so that everybody kind of be brought up to speed. I was hoping at one point, I was wanting to kind of bring that to tonight's meeting, but I thought maybe with the changes with the 2016 and the 2017 and all those things, it might be a little more appropriate to have like a separate meeting and have a workshop. But those of you, I'm sure everybody's aware of the new Department of Labor threshold and that new minimum standard for exempt employee being 47,476. What we are proposing, what I'm proposing is to relook at the pay grade. And it's actually perfect time given that threshold, because if you look at our current pay grade 6, our entry level for pay grade 6 is 47,609. The new threshold is 47,476. My recommendation is going to be making our minimum the new DOL threshold and adjusting the people that are at that threshold, which probably 12 are in pay grade 5, move them into a pay grade 6. The 6 go to 7, the 7 goes to 8, the 8 goes to 9, and the 9 goes to 10. With our current salaries and where we have people at right now, as of today, one person's going to be affected, and it's a department head. And it's a difference of about $2,000. Because as a department head, you're not going to want to keep them in a pay grade 5, probably. I wouldn't recommend. So with that being said, eventually I think given the changes with the Department of Labor and that minimum threshold for salary, I really think we need to take a look at realigning that to make it make more sense. And I know Nathan and I spoke a little bit about it one day, is probably then what would also happen so that there's not a concern over, okay, so then that means people in pay grade 6, 7, 8, and 9 have a further range and a more of a growth. That would probably be compressed as well, so that there's not that complete shift in having them have the opportunity to have $20,000 more dollars than somebody else. So, and it's a little more complicated than that, and that's why I would like to
Good
request.
material for a workshop.
Huh?
Good material for a workshop.
Yes, it is, yeah. And then that way, everybody's kind of on the same page, you're getting the same information from the same person at the same time, and I think when you hear it, it's going to make a lot of sense.
Those changes would need to be reflected in the budget for next year.
Yeah.
So we would need to,
They don't need to, they wouldn't be, well, if there were changes in any individual salaries, we would have to do additionals in next year's budget.
Right.
But we are,
Hopefully it's not coming.
we're going to be compliant with the federal minimum threshold as it is, so we thought that it would just be more, it would be better to just hold off and get through the budget process
we can make an adjustment.
and then
Right.
come back and adjust.
And to your point, for the last probably 9-10 months, Christine and I, and then consultant with department heads have gone through all of the folks that were either close to that threshold or who appeared to be in an exempt level position, have methodically gone through all those, gone through their duties and
Have prepared for
responsibilities, and have already made those changes. Some people moved to hourly, some people are hourly or moving to exempt, and some people will have an adjustment, but that's because the federal law says on December 1 you have to make that change.
And there is,
Or you could pay them all hourly.
there is money for increases anyway, and so I think it's covered.
Thanks for your diligence, Kim.
So you're welcome. Thank you all for your time.
We haven't passed it yet.
Just
kidding.
She thought she was out of here.
I'm just kidding.
So the two that are in pay range 4, then they'll be moved to that are exempt. Right.
So do you want to hold off on scheduling that then until we're,
Which one are you on? You're on,
The pay grade 4, you've got 2 up at the
You wanna
top.
hold on?
You said pay grade 5, I just double check and so we'll know.
that would be in the future. That'd be in 2017. Nobody's changing now.
No, I know that, but pay grade 4 would also move up then, correct?
If there are, yeah, those 2 that are exempt.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the exempt people under pay, yes, you're
Okay.
correct, yes.
Okay.
Which they are already
Yeah.
at about 50% and above that pay range anyway. It
Yeah.
really doesn't even make sense that they're in a pay grade 4, but they are. Yes, correct, Vicki, thank you. Don't make me nervous, sorry. It's just us. I know, but
Are there any
still.
other questions? Everybody's getting an Amber Alert on their phones. Is there a motion?
What's the number?
64.
64.
Motion approved 2016 OR 64 on the first and second.
I'll
Second.
it.
There's a motion and multiple seconds for 16 or 64. Anything further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Now?
Now you're good. I was just teasing. Wes Merkley, resolution regarding the approval of the expansion of the economic development area.
I would request that that be tabled to the next meeting. I've got some questions whether or not we even need to do that because we've taken action on this previously. And I need to contact bond counsel and see whether or not we need to do this again, so.
Motion table.
Second.
We don't need to assign it a number at this
No.
point? Okay,
Not at this time.
okay.
Motion and second to table. Anything further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Heather Metcalf, this is a public hearing on an ordinance for appropriations and tax rates.
This is
The budget.
for the 2017 budget. Not exactly sure what you all want me to go through on this guy, but it's been published through Gateway if any public wants to see any of the detail too.
But if you would explain the 3.5 for the circuit breakers, just
Yes.
so it is expressed publicly, and that you did state that the DLGF does know by doing it that way, they know it's in there.
Yes.
Not like before, we put it under council.
Correct. We have 4 levy funds, and the total circuit breaker that's estimated for those that we have estimated is at $4.33 million. The estimate that came out from the DLGF, I think it was in July or some, was about $1 million lower than that, so we've estimated much more conservatively, which is right at where we're at for 2016. I thought going down $1 million was quite a lot, so kind of wanted to keep it more even with this year, so we don't have a huge scare next year if it happens. But yes, it's on a separate tab now on the DLGF site. So it's not necessarily budgeted in the budget. It's reflected more on the revenues. It's lower property tax revenues.
Right, they're not dollars that we would cut, rather they're dollars that we just won't receive.
Correct, yes.
So Heather, is this what we call revenue neutral budget?
Yes.
Thank you.
You all got a new sheet like this that I handed out to you today. And you can see on the far right-hand side, those are the differences between the revenues and the budget.
I would make one comment on page 15. I communicated before under Public Budget Administrator, down about a third. We originally put in the budget at 50, and it was recommended by the Parks Authority to reduce that down to the 47.6. And the 47.6 is above the amount that the city can do anyway without having a special vote on it. Is it the 25%? I should probably look at Kim, but
Right.
so even this, we're voting to go higher than the allowed. And I would just say that our public art administrator has meets and exceeds all the qualifications and has been on the job, if you would, a couple years. And I think the expectation was the higher amount, the 50. And I'm going to advocate for that. And actually, I'll make a motion to approve 2016 OR 65 with the change to move that to 50. After the public hearing, I'll make that motion.
We need to open this public hearing.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm assuming that when the state figures its calculation for what they perceive circuit breakers will be, they have a formula that they operate by. Are you using the same formula and then just adding $1 million, or are you using a different formula?
The estimated circuit breaker that is included in the budget for 2017 is the same as 2016, the actual impact of 2016. I felt like the impact was the $4.3 million would probably be close to what the impact will be in 2017. And that's still pretty conservative.
And excuse my ignorance because I wasn't here this time last year, but the state's formula last year seemed to be rather lacking.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's it.
And the way, it's not necessarily the state's formula, the way that those impacts are actually coming to be is when, that wasn't very good English, I apologize. When the tax rate comes in, which should be before the end of the year this year, then the tax bill is calculated. And then when the tax bill is calculated at the county auditor's office, then an abstract is provided that shows who has met the property tax caps and who has not. And that is if everyone pays 100% of their tax bill and all of that, then that's what the estimate is by. It never really gets, but even though this year the estimate's at the 3.5 for the general fund, we don't actually know the actual impact until we get the December settlement at the end of the year.
So, I mean, even if your numbers, even if you're the best number cruncher in the world, you're still making assumptions on
Very
which
much
you just
so.
don't know,
And it's
they just
based
weren't good
on
guesses.
assessed valuations that aren't even certified yet.
Okay.
And it's, yes.
So it's 3.5, we're good. If it's above that, we're in trouble.
This is the first year that they've actually given us an estimate.
Yes,
So before we were going on historical data only,
correct.
not anything that came from the state.
Okay.
And when they give us that estimate in July, I'm not sure exactly how they're estimating that because it's based on this budget of what each taxing unit adopts for their tax rates and their levies. And then it also, you have, the assessed valuations could possibly change because your net AVs aren't certified yet. And then you also have the opportunity as a taxpayer to file exemptions and deductions until the end of the year, which could affect your assessed valuations also. So I don't know how they can pinpoint that number in a very good way in July when we have 6 more months to go of the year that could possibly change a lot of things.
And if you remember what Scott said last time, your actual budget is after all your additional appropriations and everything are at the end of the year. So what we turn at the end of the years has also been used in that calculation.
It's a very difficult number to pin down.
But the law says they have to, so they did.
That's right.
I kind of trust the LGF.
If there's nothing further at this time, we'll open a public hearing on the ordinance 2016 OR 65, correct? 65?
Yep.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against or ask questions on the ordinance? Don't be shy. At this time, we'll close the public hearing, seeing none.
So I regrettably wasn't able to attend the joint workshop we had with Parks and City Council. I just want to make sure that some of the council's concerns were addressed and that we're comfortable with
Yes.
the adjusted.
That's very appreciative of that, yeah.
It was a good session, just kind of explaining what the council had done to the parks budget and the authority. It was good for them to, I think, to see how we worked through part of the process. The new employees that were mentioned were the green space person, the city partners person, and the arts administrator. And when we came to each of those, I think early in the budgeting process, numbers were plugged in as placeholders for those employees or those positions because we knew we wanted to potentially add them, but we didn't know what those dollar amounts would be. Our consultant came back with analysis for each position, put them in a pay grade 5. The minimum we could put those at in a pay grade 5 would be the 47.6 to keep them exempt employees, which all 3 should be. But even at the 47.47, as Mr. Samuel mentioned, they are well above the 25% mark that they would have been hired at normally in a pay grade 5. So the Park Authority felt that it was appropriate, since the 47 was above what they would have been hired at had the federal government not set that limit. They were comfortable putting all 3 positions at that level.
Did you close the public hearing?
Yes, I think I closed it. If I didn't, we're going to close the public hearing.
Okay, Nathan.
Are there other questions from the council or a motion?
A motion stands.
Technically, because I think if you're going to amend something, change it now, you have to have a motion.
To amend?
That particular item first, to amend it, then you would vote to pass on the first, second reading of the amended ordinance. So if you're going to change something, you need 2 votes, procedurally.
So then the motion would be to amend
That line item.
page 15,
Parks Administrator.
Public Art Administrator, 47.6 to 50.
And this, just additional, this is still within the range. It's actually
It is.
43% of the range. And I'm just basing it on the fact that been in the position for 2 years and doing a tremendous job.
I'll second the motion.
Not in the range. Just clarification. The pay range is 5.
50,000.
It is.
50,000.
The minimum pay range 5 is 41, not 47.
It was the minimum that we could bring them in. Right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to misspeak if I did. For my point was the minimum we could bring them in as an exempt employee was
exempt.
47, which is above the 25% of the pay range. The minimum of the pay range is 41 and some change. Okay, sorry. Thanks for clarifying. So there's a motion and a second to amend that line from 47,6 to 50,000.
I have a question real quick too also.
Yes.
The advertisement was high enough.
Was the advertisement the high enough?
Yes.
Okay, that was the question, because you can, from the advertised part, you can reduce it, but you can't increase it, so even though you're going from 47%.
Yeah, and Heather brought that up in the workshop as well.
Yes.
Just to clarify, I was getting.
Yep, we're okay.
There's a motion and a second. Anything further? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
So it's
5-3.
5-3? Okay.
No, 6.
No,
I don't
Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilperson White.
No.
Councilperson Zastavny.
Yes.
Councilperson Yon.
yes.
Councilperson Maples.
No.
Councilperson Gill.
Yes.
Councilperson Owen.
No.
Council President Owen, excuse me.
That's okay. No.
Councilperson Hawkins.
Yes.
Councilperson Samuel.
Yes.
Councilperson Rodriguez.
Yes.
6-3.
6-3. Yes.
Now I'll make a motion to approve 2016 OR 65 as amended on the first and second.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve 16 OR 65 as amended on the first and second. Anything further?
Yes, I just wanted to bring up, as you all well know, that pretty much there's no safeguards. Everything's pretty appropriated out. We made a lot of good changes. I'm a lot more comfortable with it, but we really need to keep mindful next year of any additional appropriations, because they will be coming out of the reserves. That I hope that we look at that on a basis as what's priority, what a need is and not what a want is, so we can not deplete our reserves for unnecessary additional appropriations based on wants. So I just wanted to bring that little factor up.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The first and second?
That was the first and second. Yes. Mr. Pruitt, an ordinance establishing a non-reverting fund.
Good evening. Thanks for listening to my request here. So this is a non-reverting fund for planning and placemaking improvements. The goal of this is basically that the planning department wants to take a more proactive approach in enhancing the quality and the aesthetic and the livability of our community. In order for us to do that, I'd like to start creating a fund, much like the Unsafe Building Fund, which I also manage, that takes care of things that are unsafe, tall grass, buildings that need to be remediated or fixed. So this is much in the same vein and very much like that, although these funds would be expended for things such as making our community a nice place to live, supporting destination tourism, positive image, corridor master plans, local area plans, things like that. So this gives a fund, a line item to start trying to seek revenues, grants and things like that into, so that we can actually hire a consultant to do a 10th Street plan or a neighborhood plan or things of that nature. So that's what this is about.
Would your fee structures be going into this?
I have not come to a final determination on that. We have probably 5 or 6 different revenue streams that I've slightly identified that could potentially fund into this account, but I'm kind of leaving it open-ended at this point, and it's a conversation I'd like to have with council when I bring that up at the next meeting. Obviously, Plan Commission.
Just keep in mind what was brought up in the planning and zoning meeting, that a lot of that's not being enforced. You have a lot that aren't paying. You have the ones that are abiding by our fee structure and our ordinance, and you have a lot that's not.
So is there any questions about this?
I have a question. So you mentioned that this would be for like neighborhood plans, 10th Street plan. Could you be more specific? What type of plan are you referring to? What would a project coming from this fund look like?
Sure. So, for instance, I've mentioned the 10th Street corridor plan that we'd like to do that would take into account basically 10th Street land uses, wayfinding and signage, landscaping, future economic development that we'd like to see in that area, form, development standards, and basically it's a plan that would be created that would go beyond a comprehensive plan and further define what we want in a specific area of town. So
So this would pay for like the labor of constructing that plan or?
no, because it's a placemaking and planning fund, it's more going to be tailored towards consultant fees. So like, for instance, a comprehensive plan can cost anywhere between $25,000 and $75,000. We have to update that every 5 years. Every 5 years, I have to come to ask you guys to fund that. So if I want to do anything above and beyond, such as 10th Street plan and hire a consultant who's familiar with creating neighborhood plans, because obviously staff can only do so much in my office. I do have a long-range planner, and he's pushing a lot of long-range plans that we've already adopted forward, like the Tree Walk Master Plan. But if we want to actually proactively plan certain areas of our city, we're going to have to fund that type of plan and hire a consultant. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. Well, sorry, one more question then I'm done. So does having this fund make it easier for you to apply for grants?
Well, if I received a grant, it could be deposited in that account and then it would be spent out. Right now, I'm not sure, maybe Heather could illuminate where a grant, if I were to secure one for planning, would go. I don't know where that would go right now. Okay, so we would have to establish a line at that time of a grant. So this is kind of preempting that.
Thank you for the clarification.
Scott, if we're establishing a non-reverting fund, non-reverting funds are supposed to be very specific what goes into that fund, correct?
Well, that's the conversation.
That's what I'm concerned about.
And that's what I was asking, are you talking about existing fees you're collecting that are going to this, or new fees that are going to be created by subsequent ordinances? That was the question I was talking about.
Sure.
Because it does have to be specific.
Yeah.
If you're talking about existing fees, then this ordinance would have to reference what specific existing fees are going into this. If you're talking about new fees that are going to be created, or subsequent fees, then in the new ordinance, you can put it in the new ordinance that is going to go into this fund. So that's the question.
Yeah, and that's why I
Okay.
asked him earlier what fees, so we would know.
So as of right now, there is nothing funding this fund. If this is adopted, there's no funds going to be taken. No current fees will, this would be only new as approved by council.
And then you would put that in whatever new fees that are created, then in that new ordinance would be specific about referencing that those new fees would go into this ordinance.
Yep.
Okay. I just
So
have to
currently this is
clarify
zero.
because
We're thinking like, I was asking about.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve 2016 OR 66 on the first and second.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Anything further? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Mr. Pruitt, number 67.
All right, so as was just described, what would be funding an account or a non-reverting fund for placemaking? This is one thing that could be adopted by council if you so see fit. I'm proposing basically that landscaping that we normally waive at Plan Commission be reassessed as potentially something that a developer could actually fund themselves out of, basically buy themselves out of a waiver. Much like we have a sidewalk fee in lieu program where a sidewalk isn't appropriate to install at a current time, whether that be a road project or planning actually recommends that it not be installed for some reason, although that's not very common, they can buy their way out of that waiver because we do require sidewalks. And that allows us to take funds and move that to somewhere that is more applicable or appropriate. So in the same vein as that, I've come up with an ordinance here that basically says, a certain percentage of landscapes could be waived through basically a fee program. This would fund into, as you see in Section 5, it funds into the placemaking non-reverting fund and be earmarked for landscaping improvements throughout the city. So this could be done in public rights of way. Section 6 tells you how the funds can be expended. There's 4 ways in which that can be done. For instance, we have the Tree Walk Master Plan. It's going to cost us about $80,000 to finish that plan. Right now, I think we have about $40,000 and potentially $30,000 coming from community partners. So there's always a little bit of a gap and there's unexpectedness, in certain projects. And this is a way that we could actually have developers help us improve our urban tree canopy in a way that gets them what they're asking for on their private development as well as what the city wants long-term as far as tree canopy and landscaping.
So currently if a developer does not want to do the required landscaping, they just request a
They
waiver.
request a
and
waiver.
There's no cost for that.
Right, and this is a program, not a mandated fee. So what this says is that Plan Commission on a case-by-case basis can either not grant a waiver or grant the waiver. It's not tied to this fee program. This just gives an option for the developer to choose to pay their way out of that variance so that we can further that landscaping, that beautification effort somewhere else. In other words, Plan Commission cannot, unless I'm wrong, Plan Commission cannot mandate that a developer pay instead of get the variance, but they can choose whether or not to grant the variance.
So will they still see the landscape waivers? Or does this
I'm
take
certain.
this out of their jurisdiction?
No, waivers would still be considered by Plan Commission.
Okay, because I got concern in that, because I'm a big stickler on the landscape.
Right.
We need more landscaping, not less.
I
And we got a
agree.
lot that come to us never meet our standards of the landscape, so I don't want this, I see a potential this being abused. So unless it does come to us and let it be whether, because the developer, and you may disagree with what the Plan Commission might, you may say, okay, but we may say, no, we need a good buffer here from, you see where I'm?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. In fact, in Section 3 eligibility, we made sure to make this that all landscaping cannot be waived.
You
They
said
have to do a
certain
minimum.
percentage, right?
So 50% of total landscaping is required for every development. They can't waive more than 50% of any individual component. So that means perimeter landscaping or parking lot landscaping. For each individual component, you cannot reduce it by more than 25%. So it says on the total whole site, you can't go less than 50 waived. Each individual component, no less than 25%. So it still makes sure that we do have adequate landscaping, but in certain circumstances, if there were certain factors, they could waive themselves out of it. I think we've come up with a good, I think if you go back and look at Plan Commission, almost every single commercial development in the last year and a half, we have approved landscape waivers.
That was going to be my question.
I would say probably 80%.
How often do we?
That's a rough number. I'm just ballparking it, but probably about 80%.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic idea because every time you get a plan, the shape of the property, the proximity to the road or visibility, or there's always some kind of concerns a lot of times. So the landscape, they don't hit all the landscaping requirements, but it only makes sense a lot of times that they don't. And this is a way for them to we still get a benefit when they don't pay to do the maximum landscaping or the required landscaping, and we can still use those resources to improve landscaping somewhere else where it makes sense or there's not any safety issues.
Yeah, the opportunity lost can be taken somewhere else.
How effective has the in lieu of sidewalks been?
Engineering controls that, I'm not sure. I don't know how much.
I've been on planning and zoning for quite some time, and a lot of businesses did not put sidewalks in, and we granted them a variance. And then the city came back and put those sidewalks in. So will we be putting in landscaping when these businesses should?
No, in fact, if you look at expenditure of funds, Section 6, we did not include any provision to allow landscaping to be put back on commercial businesses. It can only be done in city rights-of-way, on city-owned property, nonprofit property, and private residential property, which my intent with that is basically to supplement our tree walk and allow people to adopt a tree. So we could do maybe 10 trees a year, open it up, first come, first serve, you apply, and then you get a $110 basically voucher for a tree on a private residence. But there will be no investment of this fund into commercial property.
Currently, if a developer wants to file a waiver for a variance, are they bound by it has to be less than 50%? Or are
No,
they allowed to
today
waive
they
the
can ask
entire
for
landscaping?
they can ask for 100% waivers. They can ask for no landscaping, and we've had that happen. And of course,
Well, they'll still be
Plan
able to.
Commission.
They'll still be
Every
able
time
to.
you have a plan.
Yes, they would still be able to. Correct. This does not preclude them. This is not a mandated situation. This is just an option for a developer if they so choose to want to lighten the request to deviate from the code.
Will the planning commission be the one that gives them permission to do the in lieu of landscaping?
It's actually determined by the planning director.
So what this boils down to is two things are happening. One is you're it's taking the ability of planning commission, or the planning and zoning board, away from them to affect the waiver, and it's putting it in your office. And the second thing it's doing is it's making, we're probably going to grant the waivers anyway, which we have a track record of doing, and it allows the city at least to make money on that end of it. So those two things are really what this boils down to, right?
Right.
Okay.
It gives the business more flexibility to make sure their building is seen. That's usually businesses don't want to put in trees in front of their property because they say it's going to block my signage and my visibility. So fine, we can waive a few of those. We'll plant some somewhere else and we'll make up for that loss. Is kind of my thinking. So it gives them flexibility too. But you're right about the other two things. Yeah.
If I understood you correctly, you said that these funds could be used to help expand the tree canopy in the city.
That's correct.
And there's a big effort for that across the river.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
First that I've heard, and I appreciate you using that term, of somebody wanting to do that here. Because there are areas that the trees have disappeared.
Right.
Good.
So what is the fund that this will go in?
This will go into the planning and placemaking fund that you just approved.
The fund we have done on the first and second.
Oh, well, yes, as a first and second, not a final, but.
And do you have an estimate of how much this, of course, you never know who's going to walk in the door to ask for what, but.
Last page, Scott, there's a...
I haven't run any
How much
numbers.
it costs, but what do you think? I mean, will anybody do this?
I have no idea.
So,
It's a test.
Has anybody asked if there was something like this in place?
this might be an ill-informed question, but in terms of the process, so would the developer is this a second option if their waiver is denied, or is this something that they would need to do before they even presented? You know, what comes first? Because I think that could
Can they come,
really
so you're saying,
dictate.
can they come in, ask for a waiver, get denied the waiver? Oh, okay, I want to buy my way out of this.
Well, or if their waivers are always denied, which either gives them the option to do full landscaping or...
It would give them an option to not have their development denied at Plan Commission. Plan Commission, if they so sought and felt that the waiver would be a better program, they could not approve a waiver thinking that it was detrimental to the site. Generally, what I think is going to happen is I'm going to present these as an option for all developers. When they file with my office, when we do a development plan review, we send them back a comment form that says these are all your waivers and variances. These are the ones we don't think are going to be very beneficial for the city, and we'd like you to do maybe some revisions, and they come back with a second plan. Oftentimes, those are landscaping, and we ask for them to better meet the code. At that time, I expect to let them know of the potential that if they'd like to reduce the amount of requests that they're making, that they could go ahead and buy themselves out of it and just get rid of it. But
So, I have a question.
yes,
If there's a development, development that's coming before the planning board, if you have allowed them to buy so much of their landscaping out of the plan,
right.
what if the plan commission rejects the plan based on those waivers being given out? Or that?
Well, one thing, I guess, is I would hold the check until the development has been seen and
approved.
approved by Plan Commission, if they so chose to do that.
Okay.
I think that is the easiest way to...
So then there is, in effect, a way for the plan commission to have a check on your office's ability to sell these waivers, if you will, because they can just not approve the plan based on your granting of a waiver, in all reality.
I think I know what you're saying there. This would be more, the way I've written this and the way I understand it is that it's a fee in lieu of that requirement. So the waiver wouldn't actually come to Plan Commission anymore.
Right.
At all.
But we could
For
still,
the
the planning
landscape.
commission.
They could still deny the
Just
plan.
deny it.
For other reasons.
That needs
Sure.
to come to the planning commission.
Well,
Those waivers, you need to see those variances. I mean, that's something that board needs to look at. Otherwise, that board is irrelevant.
well,
That-
and I'm
Taken
really-
away from the decision-making process that board has been in place for.
I am really, really concerned. You've sat on planning and zoning. I really think the developers are going to take this and run with it. I'm saying we need more landscaping, and when they're up there, now some of the variants, he said, but I make them explain why, justify it or whatever, but I'm afraid that we are going to go down a slope here. Instead of getting more landscaping, I think they're going to take this as a way out because they don't like to do all the landscaping.
He hasn't put, and then I have a legal question. I understand what you're saying, and I think there's things in there about how many percentages of trees they can reduce. They can't just wave it away. So, but that's not my point. My question is more for you guys. So I've been planning, and I'm told, if they're not asking for any variances, that you more or less have to accept the plan, right? So then, if the planning decides, I'm going to reject this because I don't like this deal that has been worked out, where does this sit?
I think it's a valid point, yeah. I just don't think you can just arbitrarily decline the plan if you don't like this program. It meets all the other criteria.
Okay.
You're right. I tell you.
And that was kind of my question too. I think if the Plan Commission is going to grant waivers, we might as well be getting something out of it so that we can do things in other places. I'm just afraid that something's going to be given in this form, and then the Plan Commission denies it because they don't like the deal that was struck, and then we're going to get sued. And
Well, you would have to be denying the development based on a waiver, not, and this waiver would not come to you any longer.
Can we just ask a good question. Can we just
But-
change it to, instead of, can planning and zoning grant this? Is that something that?
What is possible to have the planning commission approve these or ratify?
Yeah, like you can kind of like make a recommendation to the planning commission and they make a final determination for granting.
Isn't that how in lieu of sidewalks work still?
Yeah, I mean,
I thought that's how the sidewalk.
that's a fine process.
You said we'll put we'll vote to put that in there?
Sure.
I think that's how that was.
For final approval.
Right.
The way it's worded, I think you make that determination and it never goes before the planning commission. Adding that step, is that just?
So in section 4, the language would change, basically the process would change that.
No, I think it's also.
Oh, yeah.
Section 3. Yeah, I think
Subject, just put somewhere wherever you need it, subject to approval.
where we're talking about you determining the fee or granting the fee.
I'd make a motion, we table it until we see a new one, but I don't think that, I think Nathan does a wonderful job, but I still think that board deserves the right to see that.
I do too.
This is just based, and I completely commend that, and absolutely. I was just doing this based on existing waiver patterns, not my discretion.
I mean,
For us.
Or how the commission.
How Plan Commission has granted waivers in the past 2
They've been
years.
doing it
This has already been done, and so I was just basing it off of that.
Our landscaping
So
codes are
also, if we tie it to,
above and beyond.
you are approving it, and then it goes in front of the commission is what we're talking about here.
I think that
You give
is
a preliminary approval, goes before the commission in the package.
subject to the approval of Plan Commission, yeah.
Yeah. And although landscaping may be less at that site, the purpose of this program is to,
Is to stop the net loss.
so
Yep.
for the city as a whole, we will still have the amount of
That's the intent,
flora and fauna, for lack of a better way to put it.
yes.
I got a motion on the floor, Mr. President, to
I'm
table
sorry?
this until he gets his.
I'll
Then-
second that.
there's a motion and a second to table. We could approve on a first reading and ask for a revision to keep the process moving, which is what I would be more in favor of. But there is a motion and a second. Is there anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Councilperson White,
No.
Councilperson Sestavny,
Yes.
Councilperson Yon,
No.
Councilperson Maples,
No.
Councilperson,
Is the yes to table or the no not, what is the?
Yes
is
is to
table.
table.
Okay, yes. I wanted to make sure. Don't shake your head at me.
I'm not, you all just got me confused. And I stay confused anymore. Councilperson President Owen.
No.
Councilperson Hawkins, no. Councilperson Samuel,
Yes.
yes. Councilperson Rodriguez, yes. 4 noes, or 4 yeses, 5 noes.
We are tabled. No.
No.
Motion to table failed. I had my counting wrong. Excuse me. So now we need another motion.
So I'd like the motion I defer to the gentleman
From the first
Mr.
district.
President, I move that we pass 2016 OR 67 on the first reading.
Y'all want a roll call vote?
Second.
Yes.
There's a motion and a second to,
pending are you going to include pending revisions for what we've been talking about, right? Is that what you're motioning?
I think he's going to work on that and come back to us with an amendment.
so we're motioning,
It's first reading.
there's a motion and a second to pass 16 OR 67 on the first. I think we are anticipating some changes and revisions.
Yes.
Tennessee.
Do we need a roll call vote? Did somebody ask for that?
I did, because y'all been doing it.
Roll call vote.
I don't care if y'all gonna vote together.
Mr. White has asked for it.
Councilperson White.
Yes.
Councilperson Zastopper.
Yes.
Councilperson Yon.
No.
Councilperson Maples.
Yes.
No.
Councilperson, President Owen, yes.
Yes.
Councilperson Hawkins, yes.
Yes.
Councilperson Samuel, yes. Councilperson Rodriguez, no.
Was that a yes, Mr. Samuel? Yes, it was.
All right, so,
6-3.
yes.
We're passed on the first reading.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pruitt.
Controversial thing.
Oh, man. Tree fees. Very controversial. Ms. Metcalf, 2016 OR 68.
You need a roll call vote.
This is an ordinance of
Make up
additional
or something.
appropriation, and we will have a public hearing at our next meeting.
Yes. Additional appropriation, the first one is for the new traffic clerk that was discussed on the salary ordinance earlier. The next two for public arts are grant receipts that they've received for the Sugar Shake coming up.
Motion to approve 2016 OR 68 on the first and second.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve 68 on the first and second. Anything further? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Ms. Metcalf, 16 OR 69.
The first 3 transfers are for pool staff, which is, this should cover them for the rest of the year. And then the next 3 are for the green space manager that was discussed at the salary ordinance earlier.
For the remainder of this year.
For this,
Right.
only, yes.
Yeah.
I had asked, what's the reason, once again, for pool staff, because the pool's closed, right?
Well, they have someone there, I haven't quite checked into it, but they do have payroll that comes out of there 12 months out of the year. So there's someone there that does maintenance all the time, but I can get Paul to,
So did we not have yeah, because I asked that because I think this is like the 3rd time pool staff, 2nd or 3rd. And I really would like an answer as to,
Sure.
so we know what's going on there and make sure that we get that addressed for 2017 season.
okay.
Is there anything further?
Motion to approve 2016 OR 69 on the first and second.
Motion, is there a second? I'll second. There's a motion and a second. Anything further? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney report, Mr. Lewis. Department heads. We have one, Mr. Pruitt would like to come and give us a quick update on
Just a
something.
few minutes. All right. It'll be quick. All right. So this is something
We also need you to send a PDF.
I will do that. as soon as possible in the morning. All right, so basically I just wanted to give you all an update on a project that we're basically kicking off. It's going to be one of those plans that I previously mentioned, although we're doing this in-house, like a neighborhood plan or a corridor plan. Focuses on a particular part of the city. This is Spring Street. So we're going to develop this in-house. As I said, it goes from Eastern Boulevard to Riverside Drive. Why? Why are we doing this? The goal is consistency, and the reason is because of all the developments happening on Spring Street. So we've got M-Fine happening. There's a 9th Street connection or an intersection improvement that's happening with the new Gateway project. We also secured a TART grant in coordination with engineering for transportation alternative improvements, which is pretty exciting, $250,000. So we're going to be putting in some things in Claysburg. 8th Street is also getting some intersection improvements. Engineering and planning is working on that. Arts and Cultural District is also happening, and we'd like to support that and make that something that we can make stand out as well. And of course, there's the outdoor seating program, which I have some safety concerns on, and I'd like to formalize a little bit more. So we've got all these concurrent projects that are happening, and we thought we really need to make this consistent so that it doesn't change every other block or every other parcel how these sidewalks and things get constructed. So the purpose of this is to unify the streetscape design all along Spring Street from, like I said, Eastern Boulevard all the way down to Riverside Drive. It's going to set some sidewalk improvement standards and guidelines so that when new development comes in, it is consistent. It's a formal plan that we can hold developers to. It's going to implement the bicycle and pedestrian master plan recommendations as well. That's something we have on the books already. We're looking to improve, a big goal of this is to improve safety and access for pedestrians as well as drivers. Obviously, M-Fine development is going to be a senior housing complex. We want those people to be able to get from that development to our Spring Street businesses safely without trouble and across court. We want to make sure that's an option for them. We want to formalize the elements of the already successful outdoor seating program. We'd like to make that safe for everyone involved. We want to improve the connectivity and quality of life for Claysburg residents. We want to get them from Eastern Boulevard all the way down to our great terrace lawn and our river stage and all those things so that they can walk and actually have a pleasurable experience doing so. And we'd also like to fix some failing streetscape elements that are already happening downtown. We've got some tree wells that are buckling the sidewalk because the trees aren't really properly planted or in the right size facility. And there's some other safety improvements we'd like to do as well. So this is the overall project scope or area. We've broken it down into 4 segments bounded by Eastern, 14th, 10th, and Court. So the first section there is downtown. The second is Arts and Cultural District, third Hospital District, and fourth Claysburg. So just wanted to give you that overview there. It's quite the long segment. It's basically the spine of our downtown. So here's an example. This is what you're going to see in this long range, or this hopefully short-range planning document. Hope it gets implemented very quickly. This is Spring and 8th. So at the top corner there, you have the M-Fine development that's going to be expanding. You've got Clark County Museum to the south there. This is a bit of a troubling intersection. We've got some pavement that's spilling out. There's no clear sidewalks on the opposing side of the street. We'd like to add bike lanes from the Bike and Ped plan. We'd like to incorporate more public art. This is obviously at the corner of the Arts and Cultural District. And we want it to be safe for the M-Fine development residents in the future. So what can we do with an intersection like this? We can start doing something like this so that the traffic is accommodated perfectly fine. None of that is impeded, but our pedestrians are safe. It gives us area for landscaping, which I can hopefully fund in the future, and more spaces for public art as well. So this is our idea. It doesn't take out parallel parking or street parking to any substantial manner, maybe 1 or 2 spots per intersection, but it also includes things like zebra stripes so that the pedestrians or the drivers are aware that they're going through an intersection. Right now you don't have that condition. In fact, I was downtown on Spring taking some pictures and just walking the neighborhood today and almost was hit, which wasn't a fun thing, but anyhow. So we'd just like to make some improvements. That's an option for that intersection. It's not necessarily the final design condition, but we're basically going to create a consistent theme all the way through. So this is just a preliminary timeline. It talks about in-house design in 2016. We'll start doing public meetings and outreach with the Downtown Business Association as well as stakeholders, city council, redevelopment, engineering, have everybody review the plans, have some workshops and see what we're working on. We'd like to get the plan completed by about April of next year. Engineering is offered as long as staff is available to do in-house engineering, so we save costs there. We're trying to funnel as much money that we can find into actual construction as possible. So we're doing it all in-house, which I'm pretty excited about. I think this is probably one of the first times planning is done an in-house document. So that's going to be an exciting milestone. I won't get into the details, but basically there's a projected timeline there. So here's cost and funding. These are very rough numbers. These are very, very rough, so don't get too troubled by these. But it goes block by block or segment by segment. There's 4 segments, like I said. Some need a lot more help than others. As you can see, Arts and Cultural District needs a little bit more help than the Hospital District, for instance. There's also an Eastern Boulevard reconfiguration that's identified by KIPTA. It's got a high crash rating, and it's very, very dangerous. It's actually where we've put in the park where that gas station used to be. So we're hoping we can get some KIPTA funds to tee that intersection up, actually increase the green space, which I'm pretty excited about. We have a preliminary design already that we've kind of sketched out. So far, we've got $340,000 committed for this project. Anticipated funds. The reason I'm coming to you guys today, after Andy presented to you last time, Andy and I have been talking about what kind of improvements we want to happen. He didn't use all of his $500,000 edit that he thought he may ask for, and he left 110 from 2017 that he thought he could shift over and let us take for like that 8th Street intersection. So that's why I wanted to bring that up to you tonight and present this to you, hoping to see if we can secure that 110 to further push for what Andy was already working on, but move it more into the Spring Street concept here. Hoping to get some more funding from UEZ. I'd like to get them on board with doing bigger projects, very, very good placemaking projects, and something they can be proud of. Obviously, they do a lot of scholarships and business development, but I'd like them to do something bigger as well. So our additional need is $3.4 million. I know that sounds big. We may take this in chunks. It may take a few years, but we'll have a plan. We'll have a document. That's not the cost of creating the plan. That's just the cost of implementing the plan. So hopefully, we'll have this plan adopted basically through Plan Commission and City Council early next year, and then we'll start pursuing all those other funding pursuits. Clark Hospital, local institutions, private developers can take some of the cost share, I think. Hopefully we can work with our regional transit agency, hopefully get some grants, maybe some non-tax revenue funding sources, maybe the TIF can contribute, and even the non-reverting fund, as I was just presenting to you guys earlier. So that's the overview. We're going to get a plan in place. Our bike and ped plan is a $30 million plan, but we did the plan anyway. So we're going to do the plan no matter whether or not we get the $3.4 million in the next 3 or 4 years. I hope we can. So do you have any questions or comments on that?
It's on the public art, make sure that before commitments are made on what they are, that you communicate that with the commission, because if it's on public space, then the commission has to be involved. So I know this is a plan. I'm
Sure,
just
yeah.
throwing it out there because I've
got it.
Just a reminder.
Yep.
I think our commission or the art administrator could have some input too to be helpful on.
We met with her this morning about it, actually.
Terrific.
Yep.
Nathan, are you going to include Claysburg Neighborhood Association?
Oh, yes, absolutely. They will be one of our stakeholders. We'll be doing several public meetings and bringing all those people in to show them the improvements. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I've already met with them and explained what we're doing.
That's wonderful, Dustin.
Sure it is.
Any other questions or comments? That's all I've got.
I think you always talk about when you talk about the UEZ, you are the director of the Urban Enterprise Association. And I'm happy that the Urban Enterprise Association has taken on these types of projects. It's kind of different than what we've done in the past and kind of some bigger ticket items. So glad to have the administration on board with that. And they were really excited about the things that were going on. There's some other things as well, but this is one of the major things that they were excited about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pruitt.
Thanks so much.
Great. Were there any other department heads that would like to give a report?
Hey, Nathan,
Mr. Fowler?
stick around, I want to talk to you about a couple things.
Okay.
Nope. Public comment, was there any?
Nobody signed up.
Oh darn. Council comment, Mr. White?
Had a wonderful meeting tonight. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Zastani?
No comment.
Ms. Yan?
Got a few things. I first wanted to say that, this is my first budget, process on the council, and I'm very excited for what the administration and the council collaborated on. I think there was a lot of open communication, and any questions that the council had were addressed timely, and in a lot of cases there was a good solution. So I just wanted to say that. And I look forward to that, I guess, process being over and on to the next year. I also wanted to bring up the scheduling of that HR workshop. Again, I don't know if we want to schedule that now or if we want to wait until after we're out of.
Well, we can. There were two workshops actually that I was going to mention possibly scheduling. One is an executive session to discuss contract negotiations, just
Do we want to hold off until you
with the committee.
do it now?
I would prefer to do that maybe in October and then come back with HR in November. But I'm open to any other suggestions or comments.
That works for me.
So then, would we want to schedule a workshop for the 17th, or an executive session, excuse me, for the 17th at 6 o'clock? Mm-hmm.
And what room do you want to do that? It's executive session, not this room.
Would be the council conference room.
And we decided this is the executive session on contract negotiations, not the...
Yes, yes.
Yeah, let's park. Yeah, that's technically the reason why we can have executive session.
And then, do we want to schedule something with HR on the proposed changes in the salary ordinance? If we push through to November on that, we will be past the budget and past all of the changes that we're talking about tonight. We could do that on the 7th.
At 6.
7th at 6?
Do you think we could get in and out in 45 minutes, Ms. Calabro? 45.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Is it November 7th?
Yes.
November 7th at 6.
In the chambers. Yes. Okay.
Right, and then the last thing I had, I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on my vote with the proposed new option for the planning and zoning for waiver. My concern and why I voted no against it is that having that be an option is that it will become the only option. And I mean that, I know that other council members have alluded to that will be abused. My concern is that it won't be a feasible option for developers to have a 100% waiver for that landscaping, and instead they're going to be indirectly forced to either have the full landscaping or to pay to get some of that removed. And so I see it as an additional constraint, and I see it as a kind of a way just to collect an additional fee, and so for those reasons I didn't support it tonight. But I just wanted to go on the record and explain my vote a little bit more. And that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Mapes?
No comment.
Ms. Gill?
Yes, Chief Kavanaugh contacted me today. He thought he was going to be able to make it to this meeting, but he did not. So I'm going to read the email that he sent me, if that's okay. I just want to applaud the JPD on this too. JPD Narcotics, along with the FBI New Albany office, assisted by the ATF Louisville, they received an award of service at the Trans National Organized Crime Conference in Chicago. The case completion was highlighted as one of the 10 in the Midwest region consulting for an investigation in December 2015. The investigation spread over 3 states of Jeffersonville, New Albany, Louisville, Chicago, Southern Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois. Law enforcement authorities participated. Said that the case yielded approximately 15 defendants and seizures were made of heroin, meth, cocaine, marijuana, assault weapons, protective body armor vests, and to include the proceeds or being currency of cash and vehicles. So he wanted me to bring that up on his behalf tonight, and I wanted to give it's a huge recognition. So I told him that I would do that. That's all I have.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. H?
I'd like to, whoa, it seems really, wow. I'd like to also give a shout out to the Jeffersonville Police. I was at a conference with school administrators this week. We had a threat to some of our middle schools. It ended up being nothing, in other schools as well. It wasn't just our thing, went all the way to Salem, Indiana. And I happened to be with the people who had to coordinate with the police as that was happening. And in the then follow-up discussions about what is happening and the dealings with the police, everyone was so thankful that the people that were handling that. Like that was handled professionally and very well, and they deserve a pat on the back.
Excellent. Mr. Samuel?
I'd mentioned a little earlier about Amir, our safety director, being in an accident. I understand he's okay, but it was a pretty severe accident. Just bring that out. And I'm leaving tomorrow morning to go to the IACT conference, and after that's over, I'll probably give a very brief report at probably our next meeting. But the IACT conference is very good to get to go to, and I hope those others can make time or be able to go sometime, because it's a good conference.
Mr. Rodriguez?
That's all I have.
No comment.
Okay. I have just a couple new pictures for all the council members. Sweet. We got our picture hung up there. The picture that we had redone a couple of weeks ago. So please get that before you leave. Everybody has an 8x10. And then I had one more thing. Oh, I just wanted to again kind of explain the vote on changing the salary for the administrator. I think we have a great art administrator. We have a great arts program. We have a lot of other communities are looking to mimic what we're doing here, and that on several aspects of what we're doing, but that's being one of them. I don't want my vote to be reflective of my opinion on the administrator. Rather, we had a consultant who gave an opinion on a salary, and that's what I wanted to stick with after the Parks Board voted to make a recommendation in the budget, along with 2 other individuals that were new positions that were established or will be established. So I just wanted to clarify that once more. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn? We are adjourned.